Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Mike Sikowski. I'm a pediatric and neuro-ophthalmologist. I'm the chair of the Department of Ophthalmology at the University of Oklahoma OU Health Dean McGee Eye Institute. I'm here with my colleague, Dr. Jody Summers, who's an expert researcher in myopia.
My name is Jody Summers. I'm a professor in the Department of Cell Biology, and I'm an adjunct in the Department of Ophthalmology at the University of Oklahoma Health Science Center.
We all understand the significant public health problem that myopia is around the world, but especially in the U.S., with up to 50% of kids becoming myopic now and prone to all the secondary complications of glaucoma and maculopathy and retinal detachment and things like that. So we've looked for a long time of ways to prevent myopic progression. Although at first all the data from atropine was very exciting, it's become somewhat less so over the past couple of years. My colleague Jody Summers and I have talked for a lot about the role of inflammation in producing progressive myopia. And what we chose to do as a pilot project was to have a control group and then a group that had some sort of anti-inflammatory treatment. And we thought a long time how to get this together. We decided that our cohort group would be patients who had generally juvenile idiopathic arthritis or some related condition, who were or were not on systemic anti-inflammatory or immunomodulating drugs.
For over 30 years, I've been studying using animal models how the mechanisms that regulate scleral remodeling during changes in ocular growth and myopia development. And through my research in animal models, began to get clues that the inflammatory process is involved somehow in controlling scleral remodeling, and that treatment in animals with one potent anti-inflammatory, dexamethasone, reverses the effect. So I had a poster a couple of years ago, and Dr. Sikowski came by and had this idea that we could try this study on kids who are taking anti-inflammatories to see if these anti-inflammatories would slow the progression of myopia. So we did a chart review study, and so looking at just the control group, which is normal kids who've just gone in for eye exam, we find that these kids are becoming myopic at about age 10. So so this is a higher rate of progression that we're seeing in worldwide, which is leading to all these other problems. And so then if we looked at the group of kids that have these chronic inflammatory diseases and have been treated with anti-inflammatories since they were children, they do not have that same rate of progression of myopia. They stay hyperopic, and then only at about age 17 or so do they just dip down toward myopia, but nothing as extreme as we saw in the control normal kid group. And then we also looked at a smaller a subclass of patients who had systemic inflammatory diseases that were not treated. And it seems that they have their myopia is much worse early on compared to the control kids or the kids with anti-inflammatory drugs, and they continue to get more myopic. So the results, kind of support our hypothesis that treating with anti-inflammatories during childhood slows the progression of myopia. If we treat with anti-inflammatory drugs, it will definitely slow the progression of myopia. We don't know if a child is becoming myopic and then start treating with drugs, if that would slow their myopia. That would be a study to do. And we also don't know if the children stop the drug treatment, will their myopia progress? So those are some kinds of things that would be interesting to look at. But, and we don't know the type of anti-inflammatory that is effective, because these kids were treated with a lot of different anti-inflammatories. And in animal models, I've tried a few anti-inflammatories. The only one that seems to work in the chicks, that's the animal model I use as chickens, is dexamethasone. But that's a very broad anti-inflammatory immunosuppressant, so we don't know the mechanism there. But it could be an anti-inflammatory like ibuprofen. It could be something that it wouldn't be very hard for a child to take to slow their progression of myopia.
I think Dr. Summers is right. We don't know exactly what the treatment for myopia will be in the future. It's looking less and less like atropine is going to be it. But if we could find a well-tolerated good safety profile, anti-inflammatory agent, perhaps even one that's topical that could be used for an extended period of time, or even sustained release through a contact lens or something, this could be a real game changer to stop the significant myopia epidemic.